This is Quincy Anderson. You know I love my country. There's no other country better than mine. Welcome to Guyana, land of 6 races, 6 different faces, and we all live in love. Guyana is a beautiful country, no other can compare. Got everything right here, so no other can compare. Guyana is made up of so many natural resources. We don't need no forces, cause we got enough resources. Let's talk about bauxite, gold, diamond, and rice. We got it right here. Guyana ain't going nowhere. We got enough oil too. One Guyana, I love Guyana. Guyana, my country, my home. The only place I call home. One Guyana, I love Guyana. Guyana, my country, my home. The only place I call home. Hey, hey, Guyana is nice, Guyana is fun, Guyana is clean, Guyana is green, Guyana got oil, Guyana got gold, Guyana got young and Guyana got old. I ain't talking no more. Guyana got things, we growing wings and developing things. The government real and that's a big deal. I'm singing from my heart, Guyana. I love Guyana. Guyana, my country, my home. The only place I call home. One Guyana, I love Guyana. Guyana, my country, my home. The only place I call home. Welcome to Guyana, land of 6 races, 6 different faces, and we all live in love. Guyana is a beautiful country, no other can compare. Got everything right here, so no other can compare. Guyana is made up of so many natural resources. We don't need no forces, cause we got enough resources. Let's talk about bauxite, gold, diamond, and rice. We got it right here. Guyana ain't going nowhere. We got enough oil too. One Guyana, I love Guyana. Guyana, my country, my home. The only place I call home. One Guyana, I love Guyana. Guyana, my country, my home. The only place I call home.
Mike still muted. Good morning to everybody, and welcome down to the morning wrap with Kevon Lorrimer and myself. We missed y'all on Friday, but we're back here today, Monday, as we start the new week in the new month, to bring information to you guys and bring you up to date on what is happening around the country in relation to you and the development that is currently happening in Guyana. Morning to you, Kevon. Good to see you, buddy.
Good morning, Courdel, and good morning to our, what to say, I can't find words to explain when I want to describe our followers and viewers. Good morning to those who are tuning in. And like Courdel would have said, we missed you guys on Friday. Unfortunately, we had a little, not issue directly, but you know, we're gonna make up for that. Nevertheless, we will make up for that. So, guys, as you tune in, we ask you to share the live, bring your friend, bring your family. Good morning to our good friend Somobi Pat. I'm not seeing who are the others there, but good morning to each and every one of you. And like I said, as you come on, you share, because it's all about information. It's all about debunking the propaganda. It's all about upsetting those who are prepared
Right.
to mislead the people. And we say the people, we're not saying a specific group of people. We always speak for Guyanese, like
Right.
ourselves, right? You know what, one of the strangest thing, Corda, when you look, it is so clear, right, that when you look at yourself and myself who are on this program here, when you listen to what the opposition speak, they use their race bait game, and they talk about this government are just for Indo-Guyanese. It speaks a lot because why? I am not Indo-Guyanese, you're not Indo-Guyanese. But
No.
we stand here to defend the government, right? We are defending the government. So what is wrong there? Something definitely is not matching up because if the government is for Indo-Guyanese, why me and you here, right? We put it raw as possible. Why a black man and a buck man there here representing the government, right? If the government are just Indo-Guyanese, and right there and then, people should understand that that is a lie, right? We are for
Correct.
a government that is a government for all people, right? So, Cordell, I would let you take the floor.
So, Kevin, this morning I wanted to take some time to address an editorial that was published in the Starbrook News on the 26th of March this year, titled PAC Scandal. For persons who might not know, the PAC refers to the Public Accounts Committee. Now, just going to give you a summarized version of what the article alleged. Um, so the article was being critical of the current government, claiming that there's a lack of accountability and transparency as it regards to the uh, Public Accounts Committee. The Public Accounts Committee, as persons might know or might not know, they are tasked with examining government's expenditure. And this whole situation was derived from a few cancelled meetings because a few of the members on the government side of the PAC are active ministers. Um, as you might know, Kevin, the chairman of the PAC, Mr. Figuera, who's from your region, has been very vocal about the government side and the few occasions that they were unable to attend. Now, the article or the editorial suggested that the government should remove its ministerial members off of the PAC and replace them with ordinary members so that the work of the PAC could move forward. But this morning, I want to reference a press release from the Honorable Gail Teixeira, the Minister of Parliamentary Affairs and Governance. And one of the things I do appreciate about Minister Teixeira is that she masterfully debunks and dissects some of these allegations that are made by the opposition, and not with just talk, with facts to back it up. So this morning, I want to examine a few things, and we're going to look at the fact that the government is taking this accusation of non-attendance to the PAC seriously, because the fact that Minister Teixeira took the time to formulate about 4 pages in response to this allegation speaks volumes to me. I'd also like us to look at government's commitment to accountability and transparency. Several acts and international organizations have spoken to the fact that since this government has taken over, uh, more systems are in place to ensure accountability and safeguard the public purse, if you want to say that much. I also want us to have a look or make a comparison of records. And that is something the vice president often speaks about. The record. Let us look at the comparison of records in relation to the Public Accounts Committee in the 10th, the 11th, and the 12th parliaments. You understand? Let's look at attendance. Let's look at the workload. Let's look at the composition in terms of, did the former government have ministerial persons on this committee, and were those persons attending regularly? You understand? Aside from that, I'd like us also to look at the importance of fact checking for persons like myself and yourself who work in the media and social media influencers, and the importance of fact checking and making sure that the right information is put out there, because misinformation, as you would know, could lead to a lot of things. Persons being disgruntled, persons taking to the streets and protesting, destroying public property, harming other Guyanese, all because of misinformation. So,
Exactly.
I want us to delve into a few of these and examine them thoroughly and dispel, um, again, the misinformation that is being peddled out in the opposition corner and from certain sections of what, in my view, could be deemed as opposition media operatives. You know,
Exactly. Well, Cordell, one of the thing that is very much important and critical here is the way the information is being disseminated, and we every time we come on this program,
mm,
and every time we speak in the public, we always talk about where technology was then and where it is today, and how
mm,
important it is. And it is now clear that these people, and I'm speaking specifically on the opposition side, they still live in that little box of where they feel that whatever they said or whatever they're saying, it can just be left there to fool, up to where the ripple effect ends, because their ripple effect is very narrow. It don't goes like most about 3 waves, right? That's the farthest it goes, and
right,
it is slowly but surely it is closing in on them, right? Because everything they do and everything they did, right? Everything is being recorded. And one of the important thing that Minister Teixeira did is to highlight everything in details. This is not made up. This is highlighted in details, right? And when they're going to talk about who is trying to avoid scrutiny, if you can recall one simple issue back in, I think it was in 2017, right?
mm,
When Minister Edgel was suspended from the parliament. We can remember what happened there that day. It
right,
was because of a question of scrutiny. You understand? Minister Edgel stood up to scrutinize a specific article. You understand? And ask a
right,
question. And he simply say that if we're gonna have 1 hour to discuss 2 items on last year budget presentation, how can we use the same hour now, right, to scrutinize 5 different articles,
right,
right?
right,
And it was intentionally put there because why? They were avoiding scrutiny, right? Now
mm,
you can see here clearly on the last based on the information provided here, where we can see Minister Vala Lawrence and then Minister Vala Lawrence and Patterson. They were excused on several occasions from not being present at the PAC. And
right.
you have to understand, it's not to say like these ministers who are members of the PAC, which Minister Edgel we know are one of them.
Mm.
We see Minister Edgel out in the streets almost every day. You
Right. No,
understand?
that's the thing I'd like us to look at. Now, whilst both administrations had ministers on the PAC, we have to look at the landscape. No, Guyana wasn't on this sort of trajectory it's currently on now. So, ministers at one point used to go into their offices and sit there all day doing nothing, accomplishing nothing under the PNC, AP, and UFC coalition. Literally doing nothing. And now you contrast that to this PPPC administration, where one, you don't have a bunch of geriatrics in the cabinet. You have young, vibrant people who are interested in the holistic development of Guyana. So every day you see ministers and their teams in the various regions working. Now, whilst the work of the PAC is important, this is work that can be done or could be delayed, in a reasonable fashion. Are we supposed to delay the development of the country um, to attend the PAC meeting. Now, whilst the PAC meeting is important, look at it from this standpoint. Moving the country forward is important as well. And examining the records of the government is also important. But we need to find a balance in how we look at these things. And what will be shown too in this program here is that those government ministers at the time under the coalition had more instances of being absent than the current administration. So, Kevon, let's look at the 10th and the 11th Parliament. The 10th and the 11th Parliament under the coalition, not much legislation passed, not much done in those two sittings of the National Assembly. But when you look at the 12th session of the Parliament, under the PPPC administration, you see a lot of bills being passed. You see frequent meetings of the National Assembly. You see things moving forward. And on the point of accountability and transparency, and this is one of the things I call, or I attribute to the barefacedness of the opposition, the coalition and the AFC. Now, they talk about the government not wanting to scrutinize its records from 2020 to now. Just to let persons know, currently the PAC is examining the records of the former coalition government, Kevon. And this is in a period when they were in caretaker mode. So they didn't have any proper authority to access the public purse or spend the public's money other than to facilitate the hosting of general and regional elections.
Cordell, if I could just stick in right there, when you said no proper authority, constitutionally they had no authority to
Well,
have
you're
access
correct.
to the public.
You're correct. None whatsoever. All they were supposed to be doing is hosting elections. You understand? Hosting elections. But they had a lot of spending happening in that period. And now this administration is holding them account for it. Now, there were instances, Kevon, where I think Mr. Mahipal is on this committee as well, where he would have suggested that the committee forward issues under the coalition government that they were examining to the police. You understand me? Because of they broke, whether they broke procedure, whether they were riddled with corruption. Their own people suggested that this here be transferred to the police. Now, let's look at, or in my view, the last coalition would have passed the NRF Act, and that was riddled with loopholes. You understand me? And it allowed for not enough oversight from authorities in relation to the spending of that money. Now, Guyana was praised in September 2022 in the Article 4 report of the International Monetary Fund for its recent amendments to the National Resource Fund Act under the PPPC administration. Guyana also has an ongoing legislative reforms that provide greater transparency and accountability to prevent, detect, and prosecute acts of corruption. And there is oversight of government at the national, regional, and international levels with anti-corruption preventions that Guyana has ratified. So in relation to that, it's not a case where the cat watching the milk. You understand me? There are regional anti-corruption bodies, there are international anti-corruption bodies, and there are places like Transparency Guyana and those other bodies that have said Guyana is moving forward. Guyana also ratified the UN Convention Against Corruption in April 2016, 2008. And I go back to that to show you that the PPPC administration has always, during its tenure in office, been pushing for anti-corruption legislation and been pushing for um, for there to be more transparency in government operations. And in December of 2020, in December of 2000, the 11th of December to be exact, we signed on to the Inter-American Convention Against Corruption, the first treaty of that of its kind, right? So here we have several instances where the PPPC administration, while in government, have put systems and measures in place to fight against corruption. Not only has there been a strengthening of the anti-corruption measures, what is even more noteworthy is that there are several cases before the court for corruption of state assets by former government officials and functionaries, including electoral conspiracy and fraud, as well as bribery and other acts of corruption. So you could see that the PPPC administration is serious about it. Now, before I give way for you to come in here, Kevon, do you remember before 2015, just before 2015, the coalition was preaching about corruption and the government stealing money, and when they go into government, so many people going to be arrested and so many people going to be thrown before the courts. Kevon, I think they brought charges against Brassington and Minister Ashni Singh. Those are the only two people. And those were thrown out because they were baseless. You understand me? Now, if you look at what is currently happening now, this government can brush the foolishness that government did under the table. They allowed for investigation. And now several government functionaries, as I just said, under the last government, the PNC, AFC, APNU government, are before the courts. Winston Jordan, Valda Lawrence, the Island Gas advisor, a host of them. You understand? Now, when you compare what we have with this government and what you have with that government, who seems like they're interested in fighting corruption?
Exactly. You know, we have to understand the context of this whole what I call it, this whole conspiracy of the APNUFC or the opposition. What are the initial plans? The whole thing, from what I figured, and I guess people should see this from this side as well, or if they're not seeing it, is that the whole plan is that these people are the ones who are trying to avoid scrutiny even at this juncture, by removing the two ministers, the two sitting ministers of government, because they were specifically clear that they were asking for these ministers to be replaced with two normal members, right? So, which would have given them the opportunity to take full control and to duck and to discuss whatever they want to discuss, right? And then you see, we cannot, the thing of it, they're using this as a weapon, Courdel. They're using this as a weapon to distract the people and to distract the scrutiny, like you said, from 2018 after.
Right.
You understand? And still we have not put in yet 2018 back to 2015. What happened between then, right? So from 2018, from the 21st of December 2018 to 2020, you understand? There's a whole lot to discuss, and I don't even believe the next 2.5 years is enough to discuss what transpired or to expose what transpired there. So it's a plan. It's a plan. And we have already seen it. It had unearthed a lot of things already. We see people with bangles, expensive bangles, and these things has been exposed, right? And there's just a few. That's just a tip of the iceberg, as the older folks will say.
Right.
You understand?
So Kevon, the bangle specialists and the jobs for only friends and family, the PNC specialists, those persons sat on the PAC. And earlier I was saying to you, let us examine the 10th, the 11th, and the 12th Parliament and see the differences between the two, right? So the 10th Parliament ran from March 16th to the March 16th, 2012 to November 3rd of 2014, right? They were 57 sittings held. No government ministers sat on the PAC, right? So that was 32 months in the 10th Parliament. In the 11th Parliament, which ran for 40 months from September 9, 2015 to August 6, 2018, there were 44 meetings held. Two ministers sat on the PAC, Valda Lawrence and Valerie Patterson. Okay, now between the two of them, they were excused 12 times. Well, Minister Lawrence, I should say, was excused 12 times. And then Minister Lawrence, I don't want to give her any titles that she doesn't currently deserve. So the former coalition minister, Valda Lawrence, was excused 12 times. And the former coalition minister of housing, who gave the contracts to her husband, corruption, conflict of interest, you understand, was excused 23 times from meetings of the PAC. Now let's look at the 12th Parliament under this PPPC administration, right? The 12th Parliament ran for 28 months. So the 11th was 40, the 10th was 32 months. The 12th Parliament ran for, well, it's currently running for 28 months. Now, that is from December 28, 2020, up to March 6th, 2023. There were 51 meetings held, Kevon. 51 meetings held. 51 meetings in 28 months against 44 meetings in 40 months, right? So you see the difference there. Now you have Minister Edgell and you have Minister Teixeira on the PAC in this instance here. Both ministers were excused 8 times each. Both ministers, 8 times each, and were absent twice. Now compare that to Lawrence and Patterson, 12 and 23. How could these people, and one thing I wanted to mention earlier, I think this was a guest editorial. I don't think Starbrook News is as unfair as they're putting things over in this. So if you look at the record, you can clearly see that with all these how to put it, as Mr. Figueroa is putting it, government all these meetings that are cancelled, as he's putting it, there's a clear difference in the amount of meetings held and the attendance record of ministers who are on the PAC. So where whoever it is submitting that editorial would have gotten their information from. And I mean, information in Parliament is public record. Anybody could go there and check the record to see what is what and what is not. You understand me? So that was one of the things I wanted to bring out, especially the attendance record of the PAC under the two administrations, to see the difference. And I think that is very important.
Cordell, you know, I think like Dario said here, facts galore. The thing about it is people have to understand again that, like you would have rightly said as well, the records are there for public knowledge, right? And we know some persons might not be intellectually equipped to read and understand, right? And like we would say, that is not anything for nobody to feel bad about, and that is why people like myself and Cordell are here to read it out to you, speak it out to you, you understand, and even sing it out to you if we have to, right? So people have to understand is that, you know, one of the saddest thing is that the PNC, AFC, PNU coalition have to understand is that every single day and every time they comes up with things like this, they're sinking themselves deeper and deeper and deeper. Because why? They should have taken a page out of Bart Jagdeo's book. From 2015 to 2020, Bart Jagdeo never sleeps. He never rests. Because why? He took that time to rebuild, starting from grassroots politics, to rebuild, to recuperate, and return his government. From day one since the AP and UFC would have been put out of office. They continue to fight. They lost everything. They started with a petition. The petition was something that was every single day petition, petition,
But they
petition.
couldn't even file it right, brother. They couldn't even file it
Exactly.
right.
Exactly. And now that petition whole talking was something to stir up their supporters and to give them hope and faith and all these things. But yet that now has been wiped away. Their supporters are asking, what happened to the petition? Nothing happened to it. You understand? It's just that it was a blatant lie. I myself
Correct.
was caught in it. It was a blatant lie. And now they are trying to grab on every little thing possible. They're like a drunken man holding on to a straw, grabbing on everything, but everything are just falling apart. Everything are just dismantling that they're hoping will fall within their favor. And before
Correct.
they utilize this time and try to educate their people and understand how the system is, how the political system is, and try to embrace development, which would have put them in a more position, a more better position to be seen as political or mature political people in this society, they're just sinking themselves more and more. And then the saddest part about it is that coming 2025, they will have an even greater population in those persons who will be eligible to vote, which is the younger generations. And
Right.
these are the most critical ones because these are the ones who are more attached to these to devices, have access to information via the social media and all the internet services. You
Right.
understand? So
Right.
they have to understand now that everything now is being exposed, and they are now, what they're trying to do now is trying to destroy the people by misleading them with their propaganda machines that is out there peddling it, right? You can never look at a program from any side and you listen, they're trying to educate their people. It's all about an attack on the government, attack on the president, attack on the
Race.
vice president. Race is their initial one, right? Race is what they're holding on to. And even to that now is being slowly and gradually wiped away, right? And people need to learn from that. Even look at their own by Ogunse, right? When he was arrested, normally they turn up for the Coconut Isle advisor, big team at the police
Right.
station. Nobody was there for him.
Yeah, but you see, that
Yeah,
shows the division in that party,
exactly.
because only person supporting the WP is the opposition leader. The
Exactly.
level-headed or the partially level-headed persons in the PNC, AP, and UAFC don't really support the comments of Agunse. You
Exactly.
understand? Especially
Exactly.
the Indo-Guyanese, the few
Exactly.
Indo-Guyanese in our
Exactly.
party who are being marginalized, I would say, and treated horribly in some instances. They haven't come out. Usually, as you said, you'd see Christopher Jones and all these guys down the road with the placards, but you notice that nobody has come out because they
Exactly.
understand um, that is not the kind of language you need to be putting out there. Another point I wanted to make to you, Kevon, and share with our viewers here this morning is that the opposition is also claiming that outside of the PAC, government is stymieing work of other parliamentary committees. Now, there's a special select committee and there's also the parliamentary management committee, right? Now, again, we're doing comparisons, Kevin. The 11th parliament against the 12th parliament, right? Coalition time against the People's Progressive Party civic time. Now, in the 11th parliament, there were 5 meetings of the special select committee. In the 12th parliament, there were 4 meetings held thus far. Now, um, whilst there's one less meeting, I am looking at it from the standpoint of why are you saying that this is stymieing the work than when this is one less meeting than you held um, in a parliamentary session, right?
Mhm.
When we look at the 11th and the 12th. When we look at the Parliamentary Management Committee, In both the 11th and the 12th Parliament, there were 7 sessions held, right? There were 7 sessions. So where is this effort that persons in the opposition and opposition media operatives are putting out there? Where's this effort by the government to stymie the work of these committees? Now, at least 8 meetings of the Parliamentary Management Committee in 2021 were convened and called off due to the lack of the two quorum required by the standing orders due to the absence of APNU AFC MPs. Now, what does this tell us? They also talk about the fact that the government has put in this whole quorum thing in the PAC so that the work of the PAC can't move forward. Quorums are something that are standard at meetings and board meetings and in general, so that we have enough of both sides there, or enough of the people there, that we could say we made a decision in the interest of whichever body that group is looking over, or whatever it is. So I don't see why, if there is no quorum, the PAC should move forward. That would lead to one-sidedness. That could lead to the unfair assessment of the
Exactly.
Auditor General's report. That
Exactly.
could lead to the APNU, AFC, PNC slipping all the foolishness that they would have done during that period when they were in caretaker mode under the rug. You understand? And I personally feel that the government is well within its right to want to examine that period in detail. Now, the point I was making earlier when I said government ministers might be busy with national development and the PAC matter, I think, is something that can wait. Now, Kevon, let's say we are members on the PAC, right? And this week we are examining expenditure in Georgetown. And for some reason, I could make it and you are able to make it. There's no quorum, and the meeting is called after another day. It's not a case where the PAC now skips the examination of those records to Georgetown, right? It will be examined at the next meeting.
Exactly.
Right? So
Exactly.
how could you say that the government wants to stymie the PAC and they don't want examination? They do want examination. And the PAC allows for examination of these records, even if people not miss the meeting, because you got to come back to the next meeting. Or at some time you have to come to the meeting and the records will be examined. And I maintain the PNC, AFC, APNU coalition, they're trying to rush through these records because it exposes the corruption that happened in that period, right? The corruption. Now, the other day, David Hines was on, I think it was the day the bulletin was issued for a Gunsay, talking to Kadaki Amsterdam and another weirdo that was on there, basically saying that the government should they shouldn't call local government elections in June. They should call regional elections in June, and they should follow the Constitution. And his basic conversation, the flow of what he was saying there, it got me so angry. No, you're saying to this government to do what they did when you were in government, right? They thought that you were not functioning, so they followed the constitutional process and moved a motion of confidence, which they lost, right? Because they lost that, they were required to hold elections in 3 months. They did not. So they did not follow the Constitution. So I'm like, how could you now sit there screaming at people? Oh, the government should follow the Constitution and they should call elections. They did that. They followed the Constitution. They filed their motion of confidence. You lost it. You delayed the elections. They won the elections. You delayed the results. The results come out and they still ascended to government because they won. You understand me? So the duplicity of these persons, Kevon, the duplicity of these persons is one of the things that upsets me the most, I must say. You might.
Yeah, sorry about that. Talking about scrutiny, it all leads back to I want to also mention the off a bit off from this topic. There is a pending issue in Linden here as it relates to the Mackenzie Sports of Ground.
Mm,
I saw there was a big meeting with the mayor and town councils and other stakeholders, or not stakeholders, other naysayers who were a part of that discussion, and a big issue as it relates to the new facility in Region 10, which I
mm,
personally see it as a not a big plus, but a great plus for Linden and Region 10 in general, because
right.
we know most, I would like to boast on this, most of our best athletes in Guyana that would have been created came out of Linden and Region 10.
Right.
And, you know, even that have some touchy areas where scrutiny comes in. I can recall in 2015, in the early part of 2015,
So wait, Kevin, you talking about when the coalition government come into power? 2015.
no, there wasn't in offices yet.
Okay.
But in 2015, the early part in 2015, I think it was sometime in January, February,
Mm-mm.
they had an incident at the Mackenzie Sports Ground where they had a squall and the roof was blown off and all these things and so on. At that time, I was working with the company by Shalin. I was like the floor manager. I manages all the heavy equipments and so on the ground. And I don't know. I can't recall how I got myself on that committee. I think I was contacted by Horace James, the late Horace James, and asked to be on that committee. And I asked about the committee. The committee were to raise some funds and to help upgrade the facility. I
Mm.
then advised that what we can do, we can write by Shilin. And I can also mention Philip Bino was also on that committee. And they said we can write by Shilin. I suggested to write by Shilin so we can get some funds. We decided to sit and come up with a budget, how much we're looking at in
Mm.
terms of replacing the sheets and probably works and so on and so on.
Mm-mm.
Anyway, we come up with something like about $14 million. Out of that $14 million, we had a specific, a direct budget of $4.7 million for labor, right?
Mm.
Because remember, people will come out and they work and so on.
Right.
So we wrote Baishalin, and Baishalin donated $18 million,
Wow.
right? $18 million to that committee. I can recall the persons on that committee was myself, Mr. Philip Bino, Mr. Horace James, late Horace James, the late Sandra Adams. We had also Mr. Kieran Williams,
Mm.
and we had a few other persons where even the original committee was cast aside, because even then they used the little they're always in that mode of where they want to do things themselves and not knowing certain things, which I wasn't aware of. But anyway, we on the committee. Then the money was donated by Shalin come, and they handed over a check of $18 million in the
Mm.
presence of Mr. Philip Bino and also Horace James, Mr. Horace James, who collected the check there as well. And about a week after, I saw an article, or I should say, an ad running on the television in Linden, asking
Mm.
persons to come out for self-help work to upgrade the facility, right?
Wow.
To upgrade the facility in Region 10, the
Mm.
Mackenzie Sports Ground. So in my mind, it's like, but we estimated, or we budget for $4.7 million for labor alone, right? So why do we now have to call for self-help? So I immediately make contact with Mr. Horace James, and I asked about it. So he said, that is what they would have decided. I said, but this wasn't discussed at a meeting. At
Right.
least I wasn't present or invited to that meeting.
Right.
And trust me, from that day on, that's the last time I spoke to Mr. Horace James, and that I was never invited to a meeting. The work
Wow.
went on with the self help, and we never know where the $18 million went because the facility wasn't upgraded. Nothing was done. The same old sheet that blown off was replaced, and all these things. But the $18 million just went away.
No,
Now,
go ahead.
before we come in, after that, I asked about it about a year ago. We know this guy. I don't know what's his name. They call him Neil. I don't know why they call him Neil. Probably shaped like a nail or something. I don't know why they call him Neil. He
Mm.
come up with a program and he started to talk about. The guy's Otto Martin. Come up with a program and they started attacking since the consultations of the new facility in Region 10, and he and a lot of persons in Linden and the regional chairman, and you have people like Norris King and these people attacking. They come on brute force and they said nothing can happen. Anyway, the government move ahead. The majority of the people of Region 10 who will benefit from this supported it, and they're on their way. Now they went out to say that I was a liar because there was no such thing of $18 million donated. You understand? That's what they said. They said, I'm a
Let's
liar.
check the record. Let's check the record.
Right? But the thing about the thing about this, Cordell, is that I might not have the record in details, but I do have a photograph of when the check was handed over to Horace James, and
Right.
also we have Mr. Philip Bine in the background.
Right.
So I want to take this opportunity to bring that photograph to the public and let them see for themselves.
Right.
Right? I want the public to see. We have here Mr. Horace James, right? We have here, till in the background here, you see Mr. Charles Sampson. You
Right.
have here the Chinese official from Baishalin. And right here, you have Mr. Philip Bino, right? And this is
Right.
the facility, the Mackenzie Sports Hub ground, and the check of $18 million being added over. Right, Cordell?
Kevin, this is the same thing I talk about all the time. These people literally have no shame, none whatsoever. Now look at this. Again, I come back to Linden being their stronghold. During their period, what did they do? Did they upgrade any grounds, anything to
Nothing.
promote
Even to the
athletics?
synthetic track. Even to that, they could not have complete. You remember when the president come up here and German figure was like,
Yeah, yeah.
the man said, hold on, you have 5 years and you do it. The man sticky the card.
Look,
What's that?
exactly. No, the other day, this guy up there in Linden, Bishop London, I think he is,
Oh gosh.
went to the ground and he was filming it, complaining that the ground is being transformed for cricket or whatever it is. And I was looking at the live, and it saddened me because that ground, I have been back and forth Joashong to Linden for many years since I was a child. Persons might even know I spent some time attending Watuka Day School when my aunt Sandra Jones was a manager at Guy Mine up in Linden there. So I have a little history in Linden. So over the years as an adult traveling from Joashong to Linden, when you're leaving Linden by bus, you have to pass that facility. You have to.
Exactly.
You can't get out of it without passing it. And no upgrades whatsoever. The pool used to be a set of bush around it, and you had to swim there at your own risk. They didn't have a lifeguard or anything there. The stands, terrible condition. You understand me? The basketball court, horrible condition. I think somebody tried to do some work there, but they only put up rings or something. They didn't do major works on the ground. Now, you have a government that said, you know something? This region here producing a lot of athletes. Let's look out for them. Let's put a synthetic track up there. Let's upgrade their main sporting facility. You understand me? And now people are finding an issue with that. They didn't find an issue from 2015 to 2020 when nobody had time with that facility.
Exactly.
Nobody offered
Exactly.
to upgrade it. Where was
Exactly.
Figueroa to lobby on Linden's
And here,
behalf?
Cordell, and here now, I must say to you that there were numerous offers by Kashif and Shanghai organization to upgrade that facility,
Yeah.
right? But because of the people who are self-opinionated, those persons who just want to be in control, they block that, right?
So do you
So,
remember too? Do you remember too? The Kashif and Shanghai organization
mm,
was the first organization, I think, to have this all years night football thing.
exactly, exactly.
That was mainly held in Linden. The
In Linden,
finals were always held in Linden.
in
You
Linden,
understand? But the event outgrew the facility because the facility did not have the amenities to cater to the event. So they
exactly.
ended up having to move that event from Linden every year, which brought persons to Linden, brought economic activity to Linden. The tourism sector would have benefit because people can come and spend a day. They might go Blue Lake, they might check out the museum up there, or they might go to some historical sites or whatever, or they might go
Mm.
to Rockstone to fish or something after what they came to Linden for, which was the football. Nothing. So you had one section with a little bit of stands. The ground wasn't really kept well. The
And
promoters
it
didn't
it
have
was
enough security to say,
exactly.
well, they could hold the gate and collect the purse. So the ground was seriously lacking. And now that you bring out the fact that $18 million was earmarked to upgrade that facility, where the money went to, what was
Exactly.
done, and what we
Exactly.
need to do, Kevin, is ask these persons and ask Mr. London, because he was lamenting the fact that I paid my dues for the year. I know Trinidadian contractor can't come and throw me off of here and all sorts of that. Police get called in, all
Cordell,
sorts of nonsense for him.
Cordell, I think the government needs to give way to allow mad people to walk freely because they walk in suit and ties today. You understand?
We
Mr.
can't do that.
Mr. London has a serious mental breakdown that is uncontrollable by himself. And the thing of it, the man claims to be an apostle. And then sometime I wanted to know why I said his people or some of his followers, because I see most of them speaks in the same sentiment of him as well.
Mm.
And that is sad because you know why? We must be able to say to our leaders, whether it's a pastor, whether it's our president or ministers, that sir, no, that is wrong. You're going the wrong way. So
Right.
we have to understand the guy. He opposed everything. He even sometimes opposes his own self. You understand?
But
So we
Kevin, my
have to
what
understand
what what
the
I
guy.
wanted to tell you there is this guy talking about paying his dues and having a right to question the development of the ground.
Mhm.
Could he please question the 18 million that you were informing of us
Well,
this
we can
morning?
we can call him out here. We're gonna ask Mr. Nigel London to please find out. You have a few persons who are still alive,
Right.
right? Where that $18 million went, because we Linden people want to know. I want to know because I
And
was
he's a
wrong.
paying member of that club. He's a paying member. He
Exactly,
paid for the year, as you
exactly,
said. So he has a
exactly,
right to know what is going on. Yes.
exactly. So I believe that these people they're just allergic to development. You understand? There's so much happening in this town, and like let's go back to the synthetic track. These people couldn't even completed a synthetic track. Just
Right.
imagine that. And the thing of it, you know what? That monies were already allocated as well. Where
Look,
where it went?
look.
Where it went? Another thing I can show, another facility or a building we're talking about, we're going up somewhere in heading to Spikeland, where they were going to relocate the RDC. And
Mm.
brother, the millions of dollars that are already spent there, but still we haven't seen anything. You understand? So if they want to go down the line, going down to the topic of scrutiny, you understand? There is so much to
Yeah.
scrutinize about the AP and UFC 10 years in office, especially 2015, 2018 to 2020. That alone is going to throw a lot of people in prison. Trust me, it will.
The fact that these people have only found their voice now in terms of championing development, it is ridiculous. Because as you said, they couldn't finish the synthetic track. There's nothing in Linden that you can look at to say, hey, this was a major development that benefited a majority of the persons in this community under the coalition government. There's nothing. There's nothing that you can.
Yeah,
Nothing.
Cordell.
Nothing.
There are a few. There are a
Nothing.
few. I can tell you there are a few. There are a few arches. We have one in Linden.
Yeah, but that was built by the bauxite people. I'm talking about government investing in infrastructure for the people. And that arch don't even provide shade for the people passing on it. You hear me? The few that
How
passing
dare
walking.
you? How dare you, Cordell?
Madness. Madness, I tell you, brother. It's madness with these people. So
madness is gladness, brother.
I like the fact that we can come here every morning and dispel the nonsense, whether it be in relation to the Public Accounts Committee, government's transformational agenda in terms of electoral reform, anti-corruption legislation, reforming the NRF, or revising, I should say, all the things that government has done, putting aside infrastructure development, putting aside advances in education, aside advances in the tourism sector, advances in terms of benefits to persons with special needs, persons with disability, public assistance, pension, all these things that the government has enhanced, housing, Kevon. And don't even let me jump on the presidential outreach in Region 3. Because to me, sir, that speaks volumes. The president was able to move his entire office, several ministries and agencies, to go to the people, to meet the people. And that says a lot. That says a lot. The president, since taking office, has demonstrated humbleness and his willingness to come to the level of his people. No matter if you're high up there or you're as low to the ground and you're homeless or you're unemployed or whatever. He comes here to meet with you. Yep. You understand?
Yeah.
And the amount of persons that I spoke to on Thursday and Friday of last week who were just happy that their president was thoughtful enough to come into their area to address their issues. Not send a cardboard and set it up on the field for them to take pictures next to that they can't ask for no help to do nothing. You understand me? Not show that you love elections officials more than the people of Linden by giving land to that more land to that election official than to the entire Region 10 that supports your party, or as you say, support your party. You understand me, Kevon? So again, when come June 12th this year and it's time for local government elections, I think persons should grapple at the opportunity to get some of these persons out of your NDCs that aren't doing anything for you. You understand? Get them out. BV Triumph, you see what they're doing to you there, right? You see what they're doing to you there in BV Triumph. They're selling out your ancestral lands. They're selling it out, and not even to you, right? Not even to you. And their leader, because those are PNC councillors who are sitting on that BV Triumph NDC, their leader is saying some of them should go back because they serve the community well. You understand me? Foolishness. When the farmlands at BV been flooding out in 2015 to 2020. And thank God for Minister of Agriculture, Zulfikar Mustafa, who through the NDIA made sure them drains clean up and stuff. And they're going back to do more work to make sure them people can farm and sustain themselves and their livelihoods, whatever it may be. Whether they're farming to feed the home or they're selling, they're making sure that they could do something there. So all these people who are talking now, Kevon, Chairman for Region 10, Jorman Figuera, Devin Sears, these worries that they do nothing to lobby for their people, nothing to lobby for their people, to say, hey, we help put y'all here, do something for us, build a new school, put up some, just like how this government here build the Marriott, and the Marriott kicking tail right now. You can't get a room. They do nothing like that up there. They do nothing like that up there. They didn't create no avenues for persons to get employment. This government came in here and reopened the call center that they closed down. You understand? So at least, and that was the beginning of it. At least they knew that 300 to 400 Lindeners off the bat could have come back into the system in terms of being gainfully employed and contributing to the economy in Linden there. They come back with the part-time jobs as well. You understand me? They come with the free fertilizer for the farmers in Linden so that people could go back to the field and to the crops and make sure that Linden could sustain itself. So
Exactly.
Kevon, this government has shown, and my last point here, before I concede to you something the coalition doesn't know about conceding. It's got to give up sometimes. You understand? You can't keep fighting a losing battle. Concede, and show us the SOPs why when you're conceding, so we know you lost for truth. But my last point, Kevon, the Linden to Lethem road that has begun, the transformation that will have for that region is we can't fathom it, right? We cannot fathom it.
Exactly.
The amount of export import that will happen coming all the way from Brazil and further afield, in some cases it's cheaper because Brazil is so big and vast, it is cheaper for exporters in Brazil to truck their produce all the way to Georgetown, you understand, to put it on a boat to send it out. So that's increased port activity. You got to get bigger ports, more people to work on the port, more river pilots and that kind of thing. You understand me? So we see that the government is investing in things that have a ripple effect. And as you said, not a coalition ripple that you're even making 3 ripples in the water. It's a long ripple that extends and touches almost everyone. Every Guyanese. There. You understand? And that is what's important, Kevon.
All right, Courdel. Well, Courdel, I know it's directly on our time as well. I have a team who's here again, and here, and look at this. The team was last week here, and they're here again from the NARI and members of the Ministry of Agriculture as well to follow up. And it's our time here. But Courdel, this is definitely a wrap that we need to continue because what the people need to understand, what our viewers need to understand, what Guyanese need to understand, anything we say here we can justify. We're not here to beat down anybody. We're not here to lie. Because when you lie, you got to cover it with another lie. And this is what's going on the opposition side. They cover so much that they forget when they cover and they're falling into their own trap. So, we want to take this opportunity here to say to persons that, look, coming June 12th, we would even no longer ask you now to make a choice. What we're going to do, we're going to ask you to vote for the People Progressive Party, Civic, because development is all around, and we want to continue this. We want to continue this now and beyond, right? So, with this being said, Courdel, before I close, you can say something in closing if you want to.
Right. So, folks, again, I am. I wanted to show the persons this one more time. Let me take off this background, because this is very important, and it's something that I think persons really need to be aware of. Now, this here, if you want to have a look at how the PPPC government followed the Constitution and what that looks like, you need a copy of this book. So this is the 2018 No Confidence Motion, a story through images. Now, this was compiled by photographer Keno George, and it is available on lulu.com for the persons in the diaspora. For persons here in Guyana who would like a copy, you can contact me here on Facebook or 671-6228, and we can get you a copy. But this is what following the Constitution looks like, not what David Hines and those other people are telling you. The PPPC, when it was in opposition, felt that the government at the time was not functioning in the best interest of the government. So they followed the constitution and filed a motion of confidence against that government. You understand? They didn't go and suggest that persons turn guns on other persons, go and riot in the street and burn down and loot and do all that nonsense. You understand me? They followed the constitution, and this here would show you what that looks like. It takes you through the whole process, and the images are let me see if I could get, the light is causing me, but we're not going to bother with that. So lulu.com, check that out. It is the 2018 no confidence motion, a story through images. Check that out. Please remember to follow myself and Kevon on Facebook and all the other platforms that we're on. Do remember as well to check out the community talk page on Facebook as well. All the community talks are there. So when you want to hear from the ground, the grassroots, the people who are being affected daily by government's plans and policies that are moving their lives forward, and hear from them directly, that is where you can go and get that information. That's all for me. It was lovely being here with you guys again this morning. Sorry about Friday, but me and Kevon will definitely work on a way of making that up to you. I also challenge persons to, when you hear these things from the coalition, do a little research. Google is your friend, right? Google is your friend. And you yourself can check to see what they're saying, check to see if it makes sense. You understand? Check to see if it's even true. Because there are many cases where these people just outright fabricate things, you understand, to try to make the government look bad. And I told Kevon in our last program that it is at a point where they literally have nothing else to talk about. Nothing else to talk about. So they come with, the little joke and the antics. You got the Sherrod Duncan. Let's fight, and ringing the bell in your ears. And the content don't make no sense. And it's not related to Guyanese.
Another man again.
You got David Hines running mad on Politics 101. You understand me? Sucking up his lips and going on. And we're going on with these people. We're going on with these people. Look. Anyway, that's all for me, Kevon. Over to you.
You're right. So, guys, once more, thank you again for tuning in. We know yes. Our time is being seen a little short because I know persons want to come in. I see somebody clicking just now, but sorry, our time is 7:30, 8:30. You can come in between anytime, right? And then we have to run as well. Courdel is getting ready and to go out in the streets. I have a tea waiting here as well. We have a meeting. We will be launching a new farmers group today as well. So, persons, I will update you on how you can go ahead to do it in your community so you can benefit what the government has to offer through the Ministry of Agriculture. So with this, I want to say thank you guys for tuning in with us, and see you tomorrow, same place, same time.
Peace. One Guyana.
This is Quincy Anderson. You know I love my country. There's no other country better than mine. Welcome to Guyana, land of 6 races, 6 different faces, and we all live in love. Guyana is a beautiful country, no other can compare. Got everything right here, so